Bam. Bam. How are you? Did you expect to see me tonight? Is my camera like crooked? I don't even know. Not good. How are you? Where are you? What are you doing? Why are you up this late? It's 10:30 on a Tuesday night. I have had a day. Love to tell you about it. You should probably listen. What are we going to talk about tonight? Well, we're going to talk about the day, of course. We're going to talk about appraisers who are idiots. It's the only thing I can say about that. We're going to talk about crazy home sale prices. I saw a house closed today that I just cannot believe. I cannot believe what it sold for. We're going to look at California power issues. What is their problem? Like, what is their major malfunction? And then we're going to look at two things. There's a good chance that people are going to be facing a ton of evictions soon. And, the big versus the small. The big mortgage companies are eating smaller mortgage companies, are making an effort to right now, and we'll go over that. Now, if that's not good enough news, if that's not something that'll excite you and make you want to watch my live stream tonight, I don't know what would. I've had a day today. Peeps, I've had a day. You are my people. I've decided. I've just claimed you as mine. It's like, where do I start? Where do I start? Well, I will start. I'm ready to get into it. I don't know that I'll be on for an hour tonight. And it's 10:30 Central Time here. Normally I stream for about an hour. If I get into a particular animated topic or something like that, I might spend longer. But tonight, I don't know that that's going to happen. And I kind of apologize in advance. I don't even know if I can stay awake. I have had in my career a live stream where I fell asleep during the live stream. And it's hilarious. It's on YouTube. I'm not going to tell you where it is, but I just couldn't. I was trying to stream and I was just tired, and I was getting what I call a food coma, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And tonight, I wouldn't say that my food coma, I went out to dinner tonight, so I don't know that it's a good thing, but I just feel like I'm going to be able to get through it. If you hear a little whiny buzz every once in a while, when I made all the changes to my studio this past weekend, there's an air vent right above me, and it used to rattle all the time. I figured out that it rattles, but unfortunately, I fixed it. But when I started changing the lights, I changed that light and I changed that light over there. By the way, you can see, just so you know, I'll fix it somehow. I got to go up here, right there. That's a hole in the wall. I used to have a big whiteboard in that spot. I moved it because I'm a big time live streamer now, and I don't want it there. I moved the whole wall. I'm on a different wall altogether. It's day 2 of the new setup. My wife told me, we watched a little bit of the live stream last night. She told me that was too close to the camera. So I moved a little bit back tonight. I might move a little bit more. I am looking fine. The problem is when I see myself on other screens, like if you have a dynamic look, I look a little bit weird. I look like radioactive, which is funny to me. But I feel like we're just significantly better than we were a week ago, and hopefully you think the same. But anyway, I'm going to go through my day. It's just easier that way for me to just kind of go in a chronological order. So this morning, woke up, everything was fine, and in fact productive. I was doing things, everything was good. I had lunch with my wife. She left to go to the office. And then all of a sudden things started slowly going south. The first thing that went south is I got a notice from a lender that said, hey, that appraisal that was finished for your property? Yeah, well, the underwriter for the mortgage company isn't going to accept it. And that wouldn't be so bad, except for the appraisal deadline is tomorrow. Okay. So now anytime that happens, I feel like if you're a good real estate agent, you've identified that there's a problem immediately. And so then it was a question of, well, what do we do about it? And so I let that one go for a little bit. I had other things to do. I was thinking so. I got an email from one of my buyers, and they're like, "Hey, I saw this property before Memorial Day. I'd really like to take a look at it. Do you think it's still available?" And so I was like, "Well, let's take a look." And so I looked, and it was offers were due tonight by a certain time, and then tomorrow they're going to make the decision by a certain time. And so I looked. I emailed the agent, or I texted the agent. I said, "Hey, my buyers have been out of town on Labor Day weekend. Can they come by?" And she said, "Sure." And so we went by tonight, and it was a very nice house. And what would I say about the listing itself? Well, we went in, and the house was lit up. It was nice. One of the back doors was unlocked. That was a little weird, but everything was lit up, and everything was very nice. Very, very nicely done listing. The pictures did not do the listing justice, which I really appreciate. I hate to be wowed by the photos online, or I hate when my buyers are wowed by the photos online. Then we go to the house and it's a dump. This one was completely accurate, and in fact, maybe a little bit understated. One of my favorite parts of the listing, one of my favorite parts of the home, was something that I've not seen before. There were skylights, which isn't unusual, but this one particular skylight was over a stairwell. And so when we were like, "How do you close that one? How do you close the blind, the shade?" Well, it turns out they have an electronic shade closer. I'd never seen one. I thought it was fantastic. And so it was a great house, and we may put an offer in on it. We may not tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen. At this time, it's what, 10:30? Anyway. Whenever someone is going to write an offer, whenever a buyer is more interested in a property, I do not do any comparable sales investigations before we go look at a house. Because quite frankly, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if a house is overpriced and we go there, based on the way I look at houses, we should know that. Like, we should be, the minute we go there, we're going to be like, okay, well, this house isn't going to work out. But whenever someone indicates that they are more interested in a house, I require anybody in my brokerage, as well as myself, to write an offer. If you're going to write an offer, if you're going to submit an offer, then you need to have a comparable sales report, CMA we call it. And so, late tonight, I'm sitting there writing a CMA up, and I got that done. And so that's part of the reason why I was late. But anyway, I just realized that you don't know who I am. Like, you might be watching this for the first time. You have no idea what you've stumbled on. My name is John Schenk, and I am the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small residential brokerage. We focus on, we help buyers buy homes, and we help sellers sell theirs. The Deerwood Realty live stream is me, and talks about, what goes on in the real estate business from somebody who lives it every day. If you've ever thought about being a real estate agent, maybe you should listen to me. Like, maybe you should understand how it goes daily. You might want to do that before you just jump feet first in. Not trying to scare you out of the business, not at all. I'm a broker. So I'd love for you to come and work with me, but at the same time, I think there's a lot, I was watching a show today. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff I think isn't really real in the real estate business. And I want to share that with you too, so that you don't go into it with the wrong mindset. Let's put it that way. So anyway, on this house, so we did the comparable sales. That was fine. It was late. That was fine. But putting that all together, that was at 3:00 this afternoon. So things started going south. I needed to pay bills today. I put off paying bills for some reason, not because I don't have the money, but because I don't like to pay bills. To be honest with you, I hate it. I hate it with a passion. And you say, well, John, put everything on a credit card, and then you just pay the one bill. As a business owner, I've learned, look, you have to look at every single expense, and you have to watch it very carefully. I'm a small business owner. If I make too many bad financial decisions in a month, I could go out of business. It's that serious. So I have to watch the bills, every month. I have to see what the charges are coming from, and I have to be very, very efficient with my capital. So I'm not going to apologize for it. The only thing is I really hate paying bills, and I don't like it. But anyway, so I had to do that. And then by that time, this was the afternoon, my wife, poor thing, love my wife, she had to get dental work done. Now, I went with her to the dentist and I just sat there, but I felt like, I don't know, she's getting what I thought was a significant amount of work done. I felt like she deserved to have someone there to help her get home. And so that's what I did. Well, after that, that's when I had the showed the house. And right before I left is when the news of the appraisal came out. And so then I had to speak with the agent, I had to speak with the lender, I had to speak with anybody that would listen to me. And we had to go over what the plan would be for this appraisal if we're going to miss the appraisal deadline, which is tomorrow. If you miss, just like things are tied together. So if there's an appraisal due date and there's a loan commitment date, it's almost always going to have an appraisal date that is before the loan commitment, because you're going to have to give loan commitment at after the appraisal. Well, in this particular case, because they botched up the appraisal in the first place, I say they being the appraisal company, they botched it up. They had a guy go out there and go out there, do the appraisal, wait until the last day that it was due, and then he decides that he's not going to submit a report. And so that set us back. And then, most of the time, you don't need the entire time for the appraisal to come back. I mean, you figure maybe 14 days at the most. But for some reason on this offer, I ran it out to 21 days, which I'm glad I did, because that put it right at loan commitment date, which is stupid, because if you don't have an appraisal, you're not going to have loan commitment. And so today I was like, I talked to the lender, I was like, we need to move this now. We need to move this. The seller is under no obligation to help me out in this situation. And this is what I want you to understand. This is why I don't screw with people like I can. And what I mean by that is, look, this is going to be a concession that the seller gives us to let us move the appraisal and loan commitment. Okay. I could have gone in this whole deal and been a total ass. I could have just, asked for a million things on inspections. I could have just really been a jerk, but I didn't want to be a jerk. And the reason why I don't ever want to be a jerk is because of times like this. I need something from the sellers tonight. I need them to accept the loan commitment date to be moved, and I need them to accept the appraisal date to be moved. Okay. Now they could just say pound sand. Now I don't think they will, because they're just not that kind of outfit. But for those of you agents and people and sellers and buyers out there that want to be asses in the beginning of the deal, you want to fight. And like, if you're the buyer side and you want to fight and kick and scream with the seller, and the seller wants to do the same, this right here is the reason why you don't do it. Because now I've gotten a concession. Those sellers they're like, you know what? We understand this situation's kind of crazy. Go ahead and get your ducks in a row, and we're going to be fine. It's not an obligation. I had a deal maybe 2 weeks ago where the seller would not let us move the closing date, even though we were already confirmed to close or clear to close. They were just being jerks. And part of me wants to go after them because they made it really troublesome for my buyer. Part of me wanted to go after him. I don't want to go after him now, but I didn't, because again, you just never know. You just never know. I think you can get a lot further if you're nice to people than if you're just an ass. This has been my experience in life. Maybe it's been different for you. Maybe being an ass works well for you, but it just hasn't been for me. So I don't do it. So anyway, then wife went to the dentist. So we had to go, she got back from the dentist. I wanted her to rest. I didn't want her to make dinner or anything like that. And then, then I go show the house, and come back. And then she's hungry, and I don't want her to starve. So we went to dinner. But by that time it's like 8:00, 8:30. Now I got to write this amendment for this one deal. Now I got to do comps for this other deal. Now, now I got to talk with the other agents. I had to talk with both agents tonight. And then I got to get my live stream together. And I'll tell you what, it's gotten to the point where I just enjoy live streams. And you say, well, why would that be? Why are you enjoying it now? I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I think because I'm failing at it. And what I mean by failing is I have no viewers. Like between 1 and 5 viewers. I'll have people watch the live streams later. Like one of my best videos so far has gotten 20 views on the live stream. 20 views after it was. And I mean, that's not a lot. Don't get me wrong. That's not a lot. That's not good. Most kids these days can turn on their phone and stream for their phone and still probably do better than me. So it's embarrassing. But you got to keep at it. For some people, life goes really easily. Like they never ever have any issues. They honestly do. Like luck follows them. Sometimes they're very, very good athletes, for instance. Sometimes they were part of what we call the rich sperm club. They were born into a situation where they were likely to have great success. I have not been in that situation in my life. I've had to work for everything I've got. And so I can grind. Believe me, I can grind. I've been grinding at this for a year, and I'm going to grind for as long as it takes for me to get to where I want to go. And if I don't make it, then okay. But we're going to grind until I can't grind anymore. So just know that's who I am. I have like a piece of dry skin that's irritating me. I'm sure that's compelling live streaming talk. So yeah, anyway, I finally, got to a point where I could stream tonight, and I'm happy to do so. And thank you for watching. If you watch tomorrow, hey, I appreciate it. I'll talk about it because it's probably like something that irritates me. I'm stuck on 99 subscribers. 99, not 98, not 100, 99. I've been stuck on 99 subscribers now for, I think, 2 weeks. I had 99 subscribers. I lost a subscriber. I was at 98 subscribers. Now, if I'm a big channel, I don't care about this, but I'm a small channel. At 100 subscribers, do I get anything? No. I don't get anything because I have 100 subscribers. I don't think. Let's just see. You get nothing. You're supposed to be able to get a custom channel, custom URL for your channel, but I've had a custom URL for my channel forever because I was on YouTube in 2006. Now, I haven't been streaming or anything like that. I've always thought YouTube was great. It was a good idea. I never figured out a way to do it. And I don't know, in the last 2 years, it's just become a little bit easier for me to figure things out and to actually be out there. I think some of me, I was a little bit nervous. Like, what if I fail? Well, I mean, we've done that before. And then, like, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to stream every night? Turns out you just talk about something that you know something about. I know something about residential real estate. We talk about it all the time. Talk about it every day. I do it. I live it. So that's not been an issue. looking into my stuff. So tonight, like I said, a late night for me streaming. Am I going to be the sharpest tonight? No, God no. About 9 o'clock, I'm pretty much just running on fumes, and by 10 o'clock, it's ridiculous. I think tonight I'm going to be lucky because I was committed to doing it. Like, dinner time, I was like, I'm going home and I'm going to stream. Just that's all there is to it. And so tomorrow I have a bunch of stuff when I wake up tomorrow, my office, if you could see my desk right now, and I could probably show it to you, it's an absolute. I have papers and I have documents and I have stuff everywhere because I was moving stuff around for the new camera lens, and then the new setup. But by the way, I don't know if it's any better tonight because I'm further back. I can even go further. I don't know. I don't want to do this. This is kind of weird, but this is pretty good deal. Now the problem is I'm half blind, and so when I go to look at my articles, it might not go very well. Let's see. I can see that one. I can see it. I'll be okay. Unless the text is really weird. I'll tell you, I was so tired that I said when I went to send the buyer signed amendment to the other listing agent for one of the deals, I sent him a seller's disclosure. That's how bad it's been today. That was at 9:30. So anyway, what are you guys doing? It's getting late. What do you guys do on YouTube at 11? You watch Ricada? Not on YouTube right now, which is annoying. I tend to wind down around this time. Like I'll get on my phone, I'll look at Twitter. There's some things that I'm going to write something down because I don't know if I'll remember this, but I circled it. Anyway, yeah, I'm winding down normally. That's what I do. I wanted to go over this house that I looked at today in a little bit more detail in the sense of like a process. My shirt's probably a mess. My posture isn't right sitting like this. What if I do that? And I'm not as fat as you think I am. It's the camera. It adds like 10 pounds. My philosophy has always been on sales that, look, like when you're representing a buyer, the best way in the world to work with that, like the buyer may think they have an idea about how to buy a house. They may have bought a house previously, but they've never bought a house with me. Most of the time, I've represented a few buyers twice, but it doesn't happen very often. Not because they don't like me, but because they bought a house that they really want to stay in forever. Okay, so don't kick me too hard. Anyway, my firm belief is that, look, if you want to buy a house, okay, you need to pick a location. And when I say location, that doesn't mean all of St. Louis. Okay. Like say there's 3.5 million people in St. Louis City, St. Louis County, Jefferson County, and St. Charles County. The metro area is about 3.5 million. I didn't even do Illinois because I'm not licensed there. If you say I want to buy a $170,000 house in St. Louis, you're toast. It's the dumbest thing you could possibly do. Now, if you say you want to buy yourself a $170,000 house in Bayless, you want to buy yourself a $170,000 house in the zip code 63123, now we're getting somewhere. I can't tell you how oftentimes people get stuck with this idea that you should just pick, like say you go and get a mortgage pre-approval for say $250,000. And then you decide, well, hey, we'll just look at houses that are $250,000 all over the place. That's an absolute waste of my time. Why is that a waste of my time? Well, I've learned over time that I think the biggest mistake most home buyers make is that they don't look at enough houses in a particular area to get a good sense of what the price is. They then ask their agent, who has no idea what the pricing is in a particular area, And then they end up writing stupid offers. And let me give you an example. Today I always, whenever I show houses, okay, if I physically show someone a house, I also take a record of it and I follow and I track that house up until the day that it sells. Okay. Because I want to know what it sold for. I was in the house. The best information you can ever have is actually physically being inside a house and then having it sell. You know what the asking price was, you know what your perception of it was then, and you know what it sold for. That's the best way to really get a good sense of what's going on in the marketplace. So, I'll have, like in this particular zip code, I'm not going to give you the zip code because I don't want you to be, I don't want to pick on anybody because there's somebody out there that's very dumb. Anyway, there's a house listed for sale for, let's say, $200,000. And that's close to it, but it's not the real number. 2 bedrooms, 1,000 square feet, 1-car garage. Okay. Not the upstairs was, and the attic was okay, but it wasn't done as well as the house I saw tonight. And the basement was empty, and it wasn't as nice as the basement I saw tonight. And the basement was unfinished. So you can even do well there. Anyway, the house sold last month, the house went for sale. I showed it on video to one of my buyers out of town. I said, we shouldn't be messing around with this house. This is one of those houses that, isn't worth our time. House sold today, $265,000, $65,000 over the asking price. What kind of moron did that? And I'm sorry, maybe I can't use moron on YouTube. I didn't mean it I meant it in a negative way. How in the world? How in the world? You know how it happened? 2 things. One, the buyer, not sophisticated. Either they got beaten down by loss after loss after loss, and they didn't, let me see. Oh, there was my bedtime so it's 11 o'clock. Anyway, they didn't know the area, and they relied on their real estate agent to run comps that were terrible. That's what happened. It's 100% what happened. You got into a bidding war, and you were so proud of yourself for paying the most money for a house that you shouldn't have. That's the only 2 things that could have happened. Now, that is the kind of person that bought that house that in a month is going to have buyer's remorse. When every neighbor looks at them and says, "What were you thinking?" That's when you're going to have buyer's remorse. When your friends come over and you say, "You paid that much for this pile of garbage? Seriously?" And this is the only thing that I want to never have to deal with my buyers. I never want them to have that situation. The market changes. And like whenever I moved into my house, the neighbor across the street came over and he said, "Did you really pay this amount of money for this house?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "You're an idiot." He said, "These houses are cheap and everything." I said, "Okay." We're like 10 years later, 12 years later, I've got a tremendous amount of equity in the home. I'm sitting pretty. The housing market goes down, I'm still going to be fine. And that guy tried to sell his house with an inflated number. It was ridiculous. He didn't sell it for like 65 days, and they ended up taking it for, taking a huge bath. So I don't really care what, I didn't really like it though. I had it happen to me, and maybe because I had it happen to me, I wanted to make sure it didn't happen to others. So what you need to do now, look, you're not putting your agent out. Like, let's say there's 3 houses for sale in a zip code. Let's say 63123. I'm in the 63123 zip code. There's a variety of homes. We can get to $1 million, and we can get to like 50,000 in my zip code. Okay. So, there's plenty of homes, and there's plenty of a variety. So, then what we need to do is compare homes with what we see. So, let's say there's 3 houses that come on the market, and they're all priced between 200 and 225,000. Well, if you walk into all 3 of those houses over the weekend, you're going to know which one's the best. And oddly enough, there may be one that's, maybe the lowest price one provides the most value. Maybe it's the cleanest house. Maybe there's things about it that are better than the $225,000 house. But you never would have known that if you were just searching for $225,000 all over the county. Good Lord. It's just not gonna work. And so I just want you to understand that the way you avoid what happened to these people is that you look at a bunch of houses. Now you say, well, I don't want to put my agent out. I have these people that say, like, I don't want you to have to go look at houses that don't work out. Nonsense. That's my job. We have to go look at houses. Now, there's a couple ways that it doesn't work for me. Now, look, if we agreed we're going to look in a certain zip code, okay, well then don't ask me to go 40 miles outside of the zip code we chose, unless something new's happened in the search. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Don't ask me to see houses you can't afford. That doesn't make any sense. But houses that are in your wheelhouse. Now, this is one of the biggest confusions and complaints and concerns with my method. See, John, I don't know where I want to live. I want to live in like 4 different places. Figure out where you want to live. Well, John, how do I do that? Well, look, be a part of the community. Pretend you live in a certain place, and then act. And while you're pretending, go to the local stores, go to the post office, go to the doctor's office, go to the strip mall. Just go and be part of the community that you want to live in. Go and be part of the zip code. See what it's like to drive to work. See what it's like to go to the park. See what it's like to do all these things. And then you can determine if you want to live there. I have a buyer that's set for a particular part of town. They drove through there and they decided they like it. They never looked at the prices of the houses, though. And let me tell you something. You'd like it too, because they're $1 million homes. But their budget isn't $1 million, and so that's the problem. That's a problem. They need to know kind of how much houses are in a certain place before they choose, because it gets a little bit pricey. Now, in my zip code, like I said, it's not that bad, but where they're thinking, it's not a great place as far as value for your money. It's very expensive there, and I think that they're going to have to lower their expectations. But look, if you do this, you will not have the issue of buyer's remorse. You will not. You won't be confused. And you have to understand, look, like this house I saw tonight, it was in like the top 5 houses that this couple has seen over the past year. It was a great house. Okay. Regardless of the price, it was a good house. And anyone that buys that house will be lucky and should be content with purchasing it, no matter what the price is, because it's just one of the better houses we've seen at any price. And we've looked at probably 35, 40, maybe 50, I don't know, 100 houses. It's a lot. In 2 years, you can look at a lot of houses. So I did want to get that out there. I got to go on. I think we're going to end up running long if I'm not careful. And I do not want to go long tonight. And you guys know it. You guys know I can't go long. So I wanted to go over this. I'm not an eco warrior. I do love the environment. When I was a youngster, I camped a lot in the West and in St. Louis, and I love the outdoors. I've always felt like there's got to be an economic commitment to the environment, but I believe that the government should make the rules and then get out of the way. I don't like government intervention as much as I like government rules based for everyone. And so things like, if you're going to have government sponsored recycling, then the recycling that is done should be able to pay for itself, or it's not worth doing. This is the way I think. I'm not against coal. I'm not against any fuel if there's a way to make it, better for the environment. But understand that my first order of the world is my own life. That is like the enjoyment of my life. And so if you say, John, you can't use coal because it causes, global warming or climate change, we can't use that. And then all of a sudden I don't have power because we can't use something that we have. That pisses me off. When you say we can't use nuclear because, well, it's just complicated. That pisses me off. That pisses me off. I think that nuclear is the way to go. For all of you who say that the nuclear waste is an issue, please educate yourself. For those of you that are concerned about, reactors blowing up and things of that nature, like from the 60s, please educate yourself. Nuclear power, I feel like, is always being kicked in the United States because for some reason we hate ourselves and we don't want to have energy independence. It's a bizarre thing. And so I'll be honest with you. I think that the poor, by the way, like when you talk about the environment and then you talk about the poor, or what I like to call the working poor, these people suffer all the time. Okay. Leftist green environmental policies kill and maim working poor. I mean, absolutely keeps them from getting anywhere on the economic ladder other than poor. And to me, like, I love all of humanity. Okay? All of humanity. The fact that we can be out here living like living beings is just a miracle. And so when you have these people that are in government, that are in big business, that intentionally go out of their way to stomp on these people, these working poor people, it's just the most evil there is on the earth. It really is. And so what's an example of that? Well, in California, a brilliant idea floated, I believe, by the mayor or the governor. I apologize. The governor of California. We're going to outlaw cars in 2035 that are gas powered cars. We're going to go all electrical. Now, what does that do? Two things. One, there'll be a black market for cars that have combustion engines. And two, you're going to crush the working poor. Okay? So whenever I hear about how compassionate people are, you're not compassionate when you're crushing the working poor. The United States was built off the backs of these people, and you sit there and you just kick them and just crush them all the time. Now, why did I talk about this? Why did I bring this up? Well, there's an article in the Sacramento Bee, and I wanted you to see it today because I think this is the epitome of just absolute lunacy on climate. Now, look, again, I want to protect the environment, okay? There are ways to protect the environment and not crush the working poor, all right? That's my point. You can disagree with me. It's okay. Let's continue with the article, and we'll just walk through it. It says, now, understand, when all these cars are electric, it's going to tax the grid, okay? And no power company or anyone seems to want to update their grid ever. It says, some California cities report rolling blackouts as grid teeters. SMUD, I don't know who that is, begs customers to conserve. Now, this is the next thing. I'm paying for power. What separates the United States from a third world country? Energy independence, power. The problems we have in the United States should never even be issues. As I go through my life and things get worse and worse instead of better and better, I just shake my head. We're supposed to be so much smarter and so much better than the rest of the world, and we pull this stuff, and it's just irritating me. You've got this power grid that's already taxed in 2022. Somehow it's going to be able to handle everyone on electric cars in 2035. By the way, how are you going to get your power? You're getting rid of your nuclear plants. Well, you're keeping one open until 2030. You figure that might be a good idea. This is ridiculous. And for people to accept this, what do you do? What do you do? I mean, like, what do I do? My own electric power company in Missouri, they've spent fortunes on windmills and other garbage, okay, when they should be spending their money on nuclear. Well, why haven't they spent their money on nuclear? When is the last time a nuclear plant has gotten the okay in the United States? What year was that? I'll find out, because I'm telling you, this is managed decline is what's going on in the United States. It's just ridiculous. Last nuclear reactor built in the United States was Tennessee's Tennessee Watts Bar Unit 2, which began operation in June of 2016. The next youngest operating reactor is Watts Bar Unit 1, also in Tennessee, which entered service in May of 1996. Why can't we get things built faster? If they're using the Westinghouse design, that thing's been around for like 60 years. Anyway, let's continue. With temperatures soaring and electricity supplies dwindling. Did I read this already? If I did, I apologize. California's power grid teetered on the very brink of rolling blackouts Tuesday evening. There were conflicting reports of outages beginning already in parts of the Bay Area. And that's the other thing. Like, the media and everybody celebrates this. Like, look at, we're idiots. We can't even control the power grid in the largest state in the union. I mean, what do you do? Like, my electric company, they jack up my rates because they won't do nuclear. Okay. They're going to do windmills. It kills the eagles, but we don't care about that because it's clean. And then it's like, if I don't pay, they just turn off my electricity. It's not like my protest does anything. We can't do nuclear. That'd be cheap and affordable energy for everyone. What if there's a Chernobyl in this? What if? We'd all have clean power to start. We could use our electric fire trucks to go and, put out the fire and put a concrete dome over it. Okay, so here we go. Heldsburg and Alameda Municipal Utilities reported on social media that they'd been ordered by the state's grid manager to begin blacking out customers, but spokeswoman Annie Gonzalez of the independent system operator, which runs the grid, said the ISO hadn't yet imposed blackouts. Well, that's semantics. Meanwhile, SMUD, I don't know what SMUD is, maybe somebody could tell me, issued its own warning to the Sacramento region that blackouts could hit the area for the first time in 20 years and urged customers to raise their thermostats to 82 degrees late in the afternoon. That's fine. I think it's 120 degrees there, though. 82 degrees is miserable in a house. Okay? And this is the things that piss me off. It says blackouts could hit the area for the first time in 20 years. We've had 20 years to figure this out, and we still can't. Why is that? After averting blackouts Monday night, the independent system operator was struggling to fortify the grid. It declared a stage 3 energy emergency alert just before 5:30, a sign that the first rolling blackout since 2020 could happen at any time. The organization said on Twitter that blackouts were very possible. It's like, we're not smart enough to do power in America, so you get to not get your power. We get to turn it off. A stage 3 emergency would be one step away from ordering rotating power outages, which means brownouts or blackouts, the ISO said earlier in the day. And the State Office of Emergency Services made a last-ditch plea for conservation, sending text messages to Californians' phones saying power interruptions may occur unless you take action. About an hour later, Cal OES said the text resulted in an immediate and significant drop in energy use. Oh, just a second. Okay. Not right now. So they're like, we sent out texts, and so everybody was like, oh, okay, cool. We'll just turn our thermostats to 80 degrees because everybody likes that. It's garbage. Garbage. The emergency was declared around the time power demand peaked at 5261 megawatts, smashing the record by 5271 in July of 2006. It was also hundreds of megawatts more than what ISO officials had been predicting just a day earlier for Tuesday's outlook, a sign that the record heat wave and grid conditions were worsening. Seemingly by the hour, temperatures in parts of the Sacramento Valley were expected to hit 118 degrees Tuesday. That's hot. Very hot and very miserable. We're heading into the worst part of the heat wave, Gavin Newsom said in a video posted Tuesday morning. Was he in California when he did that, or was he out campaigning in other states? The risk of outages is real and it's immediate. He later signed an executive order relaxing air pollution restrictions on various types of power plants and backup generators. Oh, I wonder why. Is it because they're going to use those gas guzzling generators to try and keep the grid open and operating? It's terrible. SMUD, here it is, the Sacramento Municipal Utility District, isn't part of the ISO system and wouldn't be affected by the state's rolling outages, but SMUD was having problems of its own with supply and warned customers they must conserve or risk blackouts. Our forecasted peak is more than what we have available. If customers don't conserve, we could be forced to do rotating outages, which we've not done in 20 years. We need SMUD customers to conserve between 4 and 9 p.m. And of course, we're doing everything we can on our end. Well, you're not. You're not. You're not. If we're going to have rising population in the United States, then we're going to have more. And we're going to, by the way, we're going to do all these things to use more electricity. We're going to have cars and everything else going to be electrical now. Then somebody needs to understand that you're going to need more power. You're going to need more power produced. Okay? It's not that difficult. You're forcing us into a box, and now you're making the box miserable. SMUD turned thermostats to 82 degrees. SMUD asked customers to cool their homes down early and then turn thermostats up to 82 degrees or 4 degrees higher than the state was seeking. Another sign how difficult the evening was shaping up. SMUD will exhaust every avenue before rotating outages are called, including buying power on the open market. Oh my God, they're going to buy power on the open market, which was also a travesty when that happened the last time. The utility might also deploy its air conditioning load management program, which gives it the ability to cut off air conditioning to customers who signed up for the program. They get bill credits in return. Hey, it's 120 degrees outside. Why don't you go ahead and turn off my power and I'll get a credit? Yippee. Yippee. In America, in 2022, we can't figure out power generation. Like, seriously, this is not what I expect out of America. Okay? Seriously. It's just ridiculous. It says ISO called for a flex alert for the seventh straight evening, calling for Californians to reduce energy consumption between 4 and 9 p.m. in order to avoid blackouts. That includes turning thermostats up to 78 degrees and shutting off heavy appliances such as dishwashers. This is not like, seriously, you're in California. It is not a third world country. You're in America. This is ridiculous. Even with voluntary conservation, it was clear the grid was going to be pushed to the limit. The organization said it was facing supply deficiencies of as much as 3,400 megawatts Tuesday evening. That would be enough electricity to power more than 2.5 million households. Adding the ISO's trouble, more than 8,700 megawatts of power were unavailable to the grid Tuesday morning because of various plant outages, according to ISO data. That was about 1,000 more lost megawatts than the day earlier. We've now entered the most intense phase of this heat wave. I don't even care who said that. Look, like, let me just put this out there. Okay. If you have a utility company, okay, you need to produce power. That needs to be your number one goal. Cheap power. Do it however you need to. Okay. Windmills ain't cutting it. The state had been pulling out all stops to try to avoid a repeat of the 2 nights of blackouts that hit California in August 2020. By the way, it's going to get hotter. You know what? It's going to get colder. We have this thing, like, this is just me, okay? In real estate, we have this thing by FEMA. It's a map, okay? And they do, like, all this mapping of water, places where there's could be flooding, and they go the 100-year level. You should go to a 100-year level for your weather. The power should be able to take, the grid should be able to handle the highest of the 100-year-old level. Like, that should be the top, okay? And every year it should be audited. How many people are in the state? What's the highest amount of usage we can predict? And is our grid capable of doing that? Don't give me the BS about the environment. Don't give me the BS about anything else. We were the world's leading economic power. We should be able to produce electricity for our citizens. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Okay. It says thermostats at state office buildings in Sacramento were turned up to 78. I mean, this is another thing. Okay. It's like, we're going to conserve, so we're going to tell everybody to raise their thermostat level. Again, we should be able to crank that thing to 60. We should be able to have ice rinks in every house. We're in the largest and the most prosperous country the world has ever seen. And yet we can't figure out power in 2022 or 2020 or 2006 or the last time Sacramento had blackouts 20 years ago. It's not okay. Despite Newsom and the legislators' drive to fight climate change and eliminate carbon emissions, which is probably the reason why you've got so much problems now, the state fired up a new fleet of gas-fired state-owned power generators for the first time Monday. In Roseville and Yuba City, an executive order Newsom signed last week allows commercial companies to run backup generators that ordinarily would be forbidden because of air pollution regulations. This is your problem. Everyone, look, I can't imagine. I want the cleanest of the cleanest sky. I want the most beautiful of the beautiful dirt. Okay? I do. But I don't want people with their stupid political goals. Stupid. Like, they're only concerned about power and inflicting their power on the population. They don't care about anything else. These people should be put in jail. Honest to God, if you're a governor of a large state and you can't get power to everyone, okay, and you've got no way to figure it out, you've never been able to figure it out, couldn't figure it out in 2020, 2 years later, we still can't figure it out, you should be in jail. There should be accountability for elected offices. I've had enough. There's no accountability. It's absolutely ridiculous. It says an executive order Newsom signed last week allowed for commercial companies to run backup generators that ordinarily would be forbidden because of air pollution regulations. The governor's top aides were dialing for megawatts, a frantic push to cajole big companies to scale back their electricities. You should be calling those companies and saying, thank you for still being in California. This is an embarrassment to our administration. We're very, very sorry that we didn't predict that there would be a massive amount of grid usage in a heat wave, which happens probably every year. Okay. Please stay with us in California. We're going to do one thing and we're going to do it right. We're going to fix this electricity problem once and for all. We're going to build 13 nuclear plants up and down the coast, and we're going to light this place up like you've never seen before. But they won't do that. They won't do that. Please, please, please don't use so much power. The blackouts would rotate from one block of customers to another, usually lasting an hour or two. They would affect the member utilities of the ISO grids, including PG&E Corp, Southern California Edison, and major utilities. Manzer said Californians had done an excellent job of curtailing their power consumption over the past week, but more would be needing. A scorching temperature remain in place for most of this week. We know this has been a long haul and it's about to get even more difficult. You guys are idiots. I can't believe you can't solve this problem. I mean, look, there are problems that aren't easily solved in the world. Okay? Warring factions are not problems that are easy to solve. Okay? Homelessness seems to be a problem that is not easily solved because it hasn't been solved since I've been alive. World peace doesn't look like it's possible. Okay? Providing power to a community, we did that in the 1930s. Okay? What is the problem? It's ridiculous. It's one thing, okay, in the human experience, it's one thing to grow, okay? It's one thing to learn. It's one thing to use science to its fullest potential. It's quite another to shoot yourself in the foot at every opportunity that you get, okay? You know, we cannot be studying the stars. We can't be amongst the stars. We can't fly ships out into space, colonizing the rest of the universe, because we can't even figure out, we're spending all of our resources trying to figure out how to generate electric power, which we've been able to do since the 20s. And this is so stupid. So stupid. So embarrassing. So embarrassing. And it's not just the United States. Don't get me wrong. Germany's over there laughing and laughing about how they've got the Nord Stream pipeline and they're going to be fine. And then all of a sudden that gets turned off. All of a sudden it's kind of problematic. If anything, if history has shown you anything over the past 20 years, it's how incompetent our leaders are. And we still vote for them time and time again. And if we don't vote for them, they install technocrats that are just as bad or worse. Let's look at mortgage rates, right? Mortgage rates probably went down, right? Because the economy's doing so well. Money's cheap, right? How are we doing? 6.25%, an increase of 23 basis points from yesterday. So a 30-year fixed mortgage is 6.25%. The majority of Americans use a loan to purchase their house. How is this going to fly? And by the way, is 6.25 the number? Or are we going to get even higher? Are we going to get in the 7s, the 8s? Where does this end? You say, well, John, this will stop the inflation problem in housing. Yes. But I want to offer something to you that I haven't yet. How many people who were struggling, okay? How many people that were struggling? Let's say their house was worth $200,000 and they were struggling to pay the bills. And so they went out and got a home equity line of credit based on the current home prices of, say, $275,000, $280,000. What are those people going to do when their house is worth $200,000 again? They can't tap into their equity because they don't have any. I mean, it's really problematic. There's problems. I'm not saying like, oh my God, sell your house now, or oh my God, don't buy a house. It'd be the dumbest thing ever. I just want you to be aware, like there are major economic issues in the United States. There's major leadership issues in the United States. And this is a bad situation. And it's all going to come to a head at some point in time. And it's not going to be pretty. Not going to be pretty. So with rates at 6.25%, let's go to our first article. I thought this was interesting. It says mortgage heavyweights seek to KO smaller firms reeling from rising rates. As if this is from Zero Hedge, but it's from a different. They use a lot of syndicated ads or articles. It says, as if home lenders weren't already facing. Oh, good Lord. Weren't already in. Can we just calm? As if home lenders weren't already facing an increasingly harsh environment, the top two mortgage heavyweights are turning a growing crisis into an opportunity to deliver knockout punches to smaller rivals. Rocket Mortgage and United Wholesale Mortgage are each making aggressive moves in a drive to turn the screws on smaller firms. Rocket is promising homebuyers it will waive closing appraisal and other refinancing fees if they obtain a new mortgage and interest rates drop within a 3-year period starting from July. I don't use Rocket. They call me and say, please, tell your buyers about us. I said, no. UWM, which specializes in servicing independent mortgage brokers, said in June it would lower interest rates on its loan products by 50 to 100 basis points to help brokers win more basis. I have done a loan with UWM. We are being very aggressive in this environment, Chief Executive Matt Ishiba said in a second quarter earnings discussion. I'm not really focused on the margins. It's an investment for the long term. The 30-year fixed mortgage rate jumped from 3.27 at the start of the year to as high as 6% in mid-June. Well, it's back in August, sparking an affordability crisis among would-be home shoppers and flattening demand. Mortgage applications continue to remain in 22-year low, held down by significantly reduced refinancing demand and weak home purchase activity. Refinancing activity is down a whopping 83% over the same week last year. The MBA purchase index is down 21% over the same period. Look, no one's refinancing their house at 6.5%. That's not going to happen. It says, as the Financial Times reports, selling mortgages is a money loser in this dismal market. Independent mortgage lenders and mortgage subsidiaries of banks reported a net loss of $82 on each loan they sold in the second quarter to be packaged into securities, according to the MBA. In the first quarter, Lenders saw an average gain of $223 per loan. So what does that mean? It means a lot of banks are going to be like, nope, not doing loans. A thinning of the mortgage lender herd is already well underway among the casualties. Wells Fargo, a past mortgage top dog, announced in August that it would de-emphasize home lending. Okay, they were huge. Better.com, a multi-billion-dollar startup, has already conducted 3 rounds of layoffs this year and has put off its dreams of going public. Better.com is trash. It's just, I mean, they're not better. First Guarantee filed for bankruptcy after its loan suffered a steep drop in value while the firm was trying to package them for investors. Santander announced its departure from the mortgage business in February and is now partnering with Rocket to provide mortgages to Santander customers. Loan Depot laid off more than 4,000 workers and announced its exit from wholesale lending. Sprout Mortgage abruptly closed its doors in July after struggling to sell off loans. Now, Rocket and UWM see the chance to wipe even more competition from the arena, even as their own earnings suffer. Rocket barely eked out a profit in the latest quarter, just $60 million versus $1.3 billion in the first quarter. UWM has fared better, but is still well ahead of its peak earnings. Jefferies analyst Kyle Joseph tells Financial Times both firms have the muscle to keep up the pressure tactics. They have relatively strong capital structures, so over the intermediate term, we don't consider it a material risk. Now, what do we do about this? Now, this is the marketplace. Eating its own. This is what happens in capitalism. Now, what should the government do? Should the government step in and make new rules and new laws about mortgage companies buying other mortgage companies? No, they should look to eliminate some of the rules that are causing these other businesses to go under. Level the playing field. That's what the government should be doing. Leveling the playing field. Okay? If someone has an advantage, that's fine. But my God, make it so that it's at least competitive. And they won't. Don't even worry about it. It's a pipe dream. Let's go into the last article. If I'm going too fast, I apologize. I said it'd be on for an hour, and it's past an hour. And so now I'm in overtime. I should put a little thing that says overtime. Would you even? Oh, here come you guys. I thought this was interesting. I don't know if you've ever have you ever found Peter Schiff? People think he's an idiot or people think he's a genius. I follow Peter Schiff. Here we go. The economy is fine, so we're told. There's no recession, so we're told. The Federal Reserve has everything under control, so we're told. Meanwhile, 3.8 million Americans say they could face eviction in the next 2 months. It doesn't sound like everything's fine. It doesn't. The median rent in the U.S. eclipsed $2,000 per month in June for the first time ever. It's another symptom of rampant inflation burning through the U.S. economy. While the CPI cooled slightly in July, shelter costs rose another 0.5% month on month. On a yearly basis, shelter costs have spiked 5.7%, according to the government numbers, and the CPI drastically understates the cost of housing. Actual rents have increased more than 15% in the last 12 months, according to data compiled by Zillow. They used to have this thing called Postlets. And it was one of the places to put up rentals back when I was doing single family property management. Do I believe those numbers? I do. We went over some articles this past week about how rentals weren't rising as fast as home sales, so maybe you should rent. That wasn't my experience. I mean, the people that I talked to, their rents are going up dramatically, like when they have to re-sign their leases. With rents skyrocketing, household representing 8.5 million people are behind on their rent, according to the Census Bureau. Of those, 3.8 million say they are somewhat or very likely to be evicted within the next 2 months. Well, that's terrible. I don't wish eviction on anyone. When I was a single family, I'll tell you, to be honest, when I was a single family property manager, when we had people that couldn't pay their rent, it was because they didn't have any money. It wasn't because they were intentionally choosing not to pay the rent. And that's what makes it tough. That's what makes it real tough. You lose your job, you have some medical bills, medical bills pile up. Do you pay the doctor? Do you pay your rent? It's really tough. According to Yahoo Finance, the combination of soaring inflation, the end of most eviction moratoriums and rental assistance payments, an extremely low vacancy rate has pushed rents up and many renters out. Nearly half of all renters experienced rate hikes in the past 12 months, according to the Census Bureau data. Even 11% have seen rent increases of over $250 per month. I was talking to my lender, one of my favorite lenders today. She was talking about there was a woman that worked in a retail job. Oh, I had to do one thing. Retail job. They had $1,000 a month car payment. And I don't mean like high retail job. To make ends meet, people are turning to credit cards and loans, raiding savings, selling assets, and dipping into retirement funds. According to the Census Bureau, 57% of renters said they were forced to resort to one of these desperate measures to keep up with their rent. This dovetails with the skyrocketing levels of household debt. Americans added another $40.1 billion to their debt load in June alone. That represented a 10.5% year-on-year increase. Credit card balances increased by $46 billion in the second quarter of this year. Over the last year, credit card debt has exploded by 13%, the biggest increase in over 20 years. Credit card debt is a problem. I currently don't have any debt on my credit cards. I refuse. I know what a dangerous situation it can be, but it's just, what are people going to do? It says, according to Yahoo Finance, the Fed's efforts to stem inflation are that you say stop spending. You say stop spending, but like look at what the grocery costs are. Look at what eggs cost. Look at what gasoline is costing. According to Yahoo Finance, the Fed's efforts to stem inflation are adding to the pain. With mortgage rates rising, renters who are hoping to buy homes have been priced out of the market. Eviction levels are already rising. According to Princeton University's eviction lab, evictions were 52% above average in Tampa, 90% above average in Houston, and 94% above average in Minneapolis, St. Paul this month. This is yet another sign that the economy isn't as strong as the powers that be would like you to believe. It's not good. Despite the fact that private sector economic activity has dropped to the lowest level since early in the COVID lockdowns, the housing market is tanking, and the economy has charted 2 straight months of negative GDP growth. The mainstream keeps pointing to the strong labor market, but if the labor market is so strong, why are so many people facing eviction? Peter Schiff has said the labor market isn't nearly as robust as people think. There may be plenty of jobs, but real wages are falling. I don't care about how many jobs are being created. What I'm looking at is, are the workers getting pay raises or are they suffering pay cuts? Because in a strong labor market, you get a raise. It's clear, strong labor market or not, a lot of Americans are struggling, and it appears a large number may soon find themselves in the streets. Isn't that awful? Isn't that awful? And it's to me closer to reality than what we're seeing other places. To me. I'm just saying. Terrible. That's going to do it for tonight. Did you think I'd make it through? I was a little bit iffy. I'm going to fix the white balance. I don't have it fixed right now. Give me some time. I'm sorry. It's like my lips are purple, but I'm alive. Everything's fine. Don't worry about me. Anyway, I'm going to head on out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I will catch you on the next